Alright guys, so I made a flowchart regarding Brexit, predicting the future of Brexit now that we know what Theresa May actually wants.
Spin the backstop entirely, which doesn't seem likely, and one is to find a time limit to the backstop, and one is to find some kind of ejector seat for Britain alone. Which of those is it going to be?
I don't know at this stage. I think it could be a time limit. I think it could be a unilateral exit mechanism, and it could be...
That is still possible, do you know?
I think these things are possible, and I think it could be another legally powerful protocol or addition to the treaty, which makes it clear that we would not be bound in the backstop indefinitely against our will.
Consider subscribing by the end of the video. So currently, as of now, Theresa May and her government are renegotiating the Irish backstop. That's the part of the withdrawal agreement which means that the UK, if it can't find an alternative to the Northern Irish border by the end of the transition period, it will default to the backstop, which means the UK will remain in a customs territory and Northern Ireland will remain in a single market. And this would be indefinite because it would be an independent panel that would have to agree that a Northern Irish border solution was found before the UK could exit this. So, as of right now, Theresa May and her team are looking for one of these three options. Either an end date to the backstop, which wouldn't make it reinsurance policy and the EU have already disagreed to that option, an exit mechanism so the UK wouldn't have to stay within the customs union indefinitely, or an alternative to the backstop, such as a solution that means that the backstop is not needed within the future trade relationship, such as technology or cross-border cooperation in some way, shape or form. I've talked about these before.
First, we will hold a second meaningful vote by Tuesday the 12th of March at the latest.
Now, on the 12th of March 2019 will be the vote in the UK Parliament on the withdrawal agreement. That's the full shebang of everything that's been dealt with Brexit so far. So the transition period, the backstop, the £39 billion that we're paying to the EU, everything that we've agreed with regards to farming and fishing and EU citizens' rights and everything. If Parliament accepts the withdrawal agreement, then on March the 29th, the UK enters into the transition period and negotiates the future trade relationship. During this period, the UK will remain in a customs union with the EU. By the end of December 2020, there will be a vote on the future trade relationship. And if Parliament accepts that future trade relationship, then the UK will leave fully the customs union and single market, and that means that it can fully negotiate trade deals with nations outside the EU and accept those trade deals as well, because it won't be joined to a customs union. But if Parliament rejects that future trade relationship, then both sides will need to extend the transition period, which can be extended until a maximum of December 2022, in which case we'll go through the entire process again. But I hear you say, what if Parliament rejects the withdrawal agreement on the 12th of March?
If the government has not won a meaningful vote by Tuesday the 12th of March, then it will, in addition to its obligations to table a neutral amendable motion under Section 13 of the EU Withdrawal Act, table a motion to be voted on by Wednesday the 13th of March at the latest, asking this House if it supports leaving the EU without a withdrawal agreement and a framework for a future relationship on the 29th of March.
Well, on the 13th of March will be a vote on no deal. If Parliament accepts the idea of the UK leaving without a deal, then the UK would leave the EU on World Trade Organization terms. If Parliament rejects the idea of the UK leaving the EU without a deal,
if the House, having rejected leaving with the deal negotiated with the EU, then rejects leaving on the 29th of March without a withdrawal agreement and future framework, the government will, on the 14th of March, bring forward a motion on whether Parliament wants to seek a short, limited extension to Article 50. And if the House votes for an extension, seek to agree that extension approved by the House with the EU and bring forward the necessary legislation to change the exit date commensurate with that extension.
Then on the 14th of March, Parliament will vote on extending Article 50. If Parliament rejects extending Article 50, then according to the government, the UK will leave on World Trade Organization terms.
An extension cannot take no deal off the table. The only way to do that is to revoke Article 50, which I shall not do, or agree a deal.
I know that sounds contradictory because the Parliament would have already rejected leaving on a no-deal term, but according to the government, the UK would leave if it didn't want to extend Article 50 and it didn't want the deal. If Parliament did accept extending Article 50, then the UK and the EU would have to agree. Don't forget, the EU has to agree to this as well as the UK. And then we go back into negotiations, in which it might not necessarily be the backstop that gets renegotiated. It could be something else. And then we'll have a vote in equally the same way, and we'll go through the same process again. But do you agree with me? Join in the debate below and subscribe.